this is the first ever gameplay for me from Timberborn, and I just want to get out some of the important stuff at the beginning. So as in the title I've put, the video is a beta, so it's brand new. This is the first day that it's gone into beta testing. That audio is far too loud. Let me just get that sorted right out. Now, so this is a first day of the game being released into beta. So if you are interested in playing in the beta, they are still accepting people for the 4-week beta, because that's going to be starting today and going on for 4 more weeks. And you can sign up at a link which I'll put down in the video description for the YouTube video, or yeah, I'm sure you can find that. And yeah, so this is early beta. So while I'm playing this game, please do keep in mind that anything in the game at the moment isn't necessarily representative of what the game's going to look like at the very end, because pretty much everything in the game is probably going to change. They've done some incredible development on this game already. It has gone through quite a lot of changes, so they do seem really receptive to things that are being suggested by the community, so that's really good, and hopefully we shall see just sort of things that are improvements, but I have no idea what needs improving because I've not played it yet, and I think this is fairly, or just about everything I need to say. So let's get into playing this game, which is essentially, as everyone is already saying, essentially Banished, but with beavers. Now, first impressions, it is very pretty. It's got a bit of a Minecraft-y feel with the corners, which works very well for me because I'm a big Minecraft fan. Intuitive, I don't know if there's a camera rotation. Yes, there is. Excellent. Now, I've set this straight onto Ultra Graphics and stuck it on stream. Now, usually, of course, streamers will stream at 720p, but this is running absolutely fine at ultra settings. My computer isn't necessarily a powerhouse or anything like that, so first impressions is that it looks nice and that actually it's quite good graphics for something that's not necessarily a demanding title by the looks of it. Now, of course, the map is pretty small at the moment, but they are very small beavers, so I can't imagine that we're going to need all of it just yet, and I don't think the stream is going to be going on for much more than, say, an hour. So, we've got beavers, they don't have jobs. It looks like Banished. Main points covered. Now let's start making a society. Now as I go through, I'm going to be talking through things that are sort of, again, impressions of the game, what I think of it, but also sort of highlighting areas where I think, oh, that's interesting, or maybe not necessarily things that can change, because that's not my job, I'm not a developer, but I am here to sort of give my impressions, give my opinions on what I like and what I think would maybe benefit from the game from changing, but of course that is just my opinion. I'm arrogant and I have literally nobody in my channel or stream, so that's absolutely fine. Now, let's get a look at what we've got going on. So we've got the different speed counters as usual. We've got a clock over here, which is fine. We've got working days, so we can make them work longer or less. And we've got our standard bar at the bottom here for the building. Now, we've got 2 beavers without jobs. We have 5 who work in the labour house, so they're going to be ready for building. And we have their little beds here, which is quite nice, sleeping mats. But if it's anything like Banished, they're not going to want to be homeless. Now, one thing that I will point out straight away is that in Banished, you sort of get an icon over their head to show they're homeless, so you can tell straight away. That's not here. I mean, that's not really a problem. I don't know how being homeless affects them, but they are very cute little beavers. I like this fat one sitting in the door. It's cute, and the little baby ones. And they also sound incredibly cute. I don't know if you can hear that audio, but they do sound amazing. So they've got their own requirements. We've got hunger, thirst, sleeps, sort of standard stuff, and it looks like we unlock these things as we go through. So let's just start building and get into it. Now we need to make some resources. We don't have a resource pile yet. I don't know if this building can hold. Yep, so this place can stockpile resources as well. Food mostly. Okay, so let's get ourselves a stockpile sorted out, log pile. So far, I mean, the first impressions are that the graphics look lovely. They're really nice and clean. Yeah, I don't think there's more that can be said about that, really. I think it's quite a nice looking game to start off with. I do like the beavers. Now, I do wonder how much it is going to change in terms of animations and things between the beta and the actual gameplay. You know, will these guys be swinging hammers? Will they be chewing, logs? I don't know. But for now, it's nice. Now, we've got a log pile here, so let's get some material sorted. So, cut trees and plants, and cut down mature trees. So if we can click this to cut them down, cut them, and half-grown trees and plants, cut down all trees. So we'll just cut down the mature stuff for now. Okay, and it looks like we've got a couple of different types of trees, which is nice. I think that was one of the recommendations that one of the earlier testers had put in about having birch trees and oak trees. I don't know if these sort of birch trees will actually produce different coloured wood, but that would be quite interesting. I think one of the things I noted from looking at pictures of this game, because I've been following it for a little while, is that a lot of the sort of colours of the buildings do look a little bit homogenous. They are a bit the same. So maybe that's something that will be changed by cutting down these different colours of trees. Now we're getting into nighttime now, and they are still homeless, so we'll see if there's a sort of any negative debuffs from that. I do like how they sort of run around. It's very cute. I don't want to just sort of blitz through the game. I have watched a couple of videos where people have sort of just, you know, fast forwarded through the whole thing, but I might just skip through the night times a little bit because they don't work during the night by the looks of it. So let's just try and burn through that a little bit. I don't know if this is like the red hour hand or if this is just going to turn into daytime. Excellent. Okay. So we've got some wood getting stockpiled. We've got 5 logs so far, and we need to build stuff. Now, paths, I believe, work like everything else. They're faster to work on, which is excellent. Let's get some paths sorted out. And we are going to get into building some houses because they are homeless. Okay, now in this game, there are a few added extras to this game that you don't necessarily see in other similar city builders. So for one thing, you can build on top of things. You can tier up buildings. So we might be able to see some sort of beaver skyscrapers. I think they have recently expanded the height of the game as well, so you can build even taller buildings. So even though we don't necessarily have a massive map going outwards, although it is pretty big, we do have the opportunity to go up and around and access more of it. I'm not entirely sure what the sort of end game for this is going to be. If it's anything like Banished, really, it's just about trying to keep your society going as long as possible and not dying. They are getting thirsty, so we need to get their food and water sorted out. So we need a watering place, and that is going to satisfy their thirst need. Let's get that there and get a path sorted out. One of the things that people have been talking about that I'm quite interested to see is if they get clothes. I know that's a really random thing, but one of the sort of big streamers, I suppose, who I saw doing a video on this was talking about the sort of, you know, the human-like, the anthropomorphization of these things. You know, how human do we want our beavers to be? I quite like them as beavers, but you know. Okay, so they all need thirst, but so far they don't seem to want to build this watering place. Now, one of the things that sort of bugs me in Banished, and I'm going to keep on making comparisons with Banished, so I apologise about that. One of the things that sort of does bug me about Banished is the fact that you can't prioritise builds. And again, I'm not here to make necessarily suggestions for the development of the game, but one of the things that I do like to see in games like this, where you can sort of plan loads of stuff and you can put stuff all over the place, is can I prioritise stuff? Because at the moment, they're all thirsty as hell, but they're chopping down trees, they're walking around, they're sort of not really doing all that much, but actually, I really need them to be building this watering hole. And it doesn't look like I can actually prioritise that. So that's sad, because we're going to get some dead beavers. You are very thirsty. Okay, this could end up being a bit of a wipe of a game, because by the looks of it, they might all just die. Okay, what are you going on? Excellent, this guy gets it. So I'm going to try and just sort of mix up the sort of shots that I'm doing here, whether I'm doing sort of medium or longer shots, so you can actually get an idea of what the game looks like from close up, but also the further away. I think the beavers are very cute. I don't think I can pan the camera downwards. Nope. Okay, so we also need to get some food on the go after we've got the water, but immediately their water is a sort of bigger issue. Now, if any of you have seen my sort of YouTube channel, or if you're watching this on my YouTube later on, you'll know that I don't necessarily normally do these sorts of videos. I don't normally do review style things. I do typically tend to do more of a sort of gameplay, usually Minecraft, that sort of thing. But I did want to get involved in this because I really like city builder games. I like things like Banished, I like things like City Skyline. I've been playing games like this for many years. And so I wanted to really just get involved in this early on and see what it was like in the sort of development stages. But I think... Sorry, I've just actually noticed that comment there from Nuclear Toaster. I agree, and this is an interesting question. It's something I posted. I don't know if you were here when I posted that question a second ago. I do wonder what the sort of end game is going to be like. What's going to be the case with how far do we have to get into it? What is there an end game? Is there a goal? Is there anything that's going to not necessarily attack us, but what challenges are going to be faced? That is an interesting question about how deep you can actually get into this, beyond building a few houses, beyond building a sawmill and developing. Sort of what's the goal? Because some games like RimWorld, they've got a very clear goal. You know, you jump in a rocket, same as Factorio, you jump in a rocket, you end the planet. Is the goal here just to stay alive until you no longer can expand? no idea. We'll see as we go along. Now, I don't know, obviously, I don't know, this stream's probably not going to be hours and hours long, but it would be interesting to see how far we actually get. I know that they are using science, and I know that there are these landmarks and things like that we can use, but we'll have to see, yeah, how deep it goes. Excellent question about the source of danger. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be good. They've got these nighttime cycles, and it would be interesting. I mean, I don't know about the actual, science behind beavers, but do they have predators in the wild apart from humans? If so, could they pop up somewhere in the middle of the night and attack you? What defense? You could have catapults and stuff. I mean, why not? They don't eat carrots, so why not have those sort of weird and wonderful things as well? I think at the moment it seems more like a peaceful city builder. Full of homeless beavers. So let's try and sort that out with a little beaver street. They are very cute, I have to say. But I think, again, as that guy said, I have no idea what the name of the streamer was, but he did make some valid points about what makes this different to Banished. I mean, Banished is going to get compared to this game a lot because, I mean, on the surface, it is basically Banished. But what makes it different? What is the sort of unique selling point of this game over Banished, other than the fact that it has beavers? Because although that is a cute thing, how far is that going to carry the game? I mean, in a way, it could be educational. I mean, at the moment, obviously, they're eating carrots, potatoes, seeds. I don't think that's going to change. But one of the things that I did when I first heard about them eating carrots, potatoes, and seeds is went, what do beavers eat? And I went to the internet and went and had a look at what beavers eat. Trees and seeds and stuff like that, in case you're interested. But they actually eat wood. Now, they have trees that could have been included as part of, you could have had them eating the things that beavers actually eat. They store stuff underwater in the winter. That could have been a component of the game. So I suppose these aren't necessarily beavers. Beavers don't live in houses. They don't have carpentry. But I suppose as the game goes on, it sort of begs that question, why beavers? And if you're going to use beavers, how far are you going to lean into that? Because they're not wearing clothes, so they're not human. Well, and also, they're beavers. But they're also not living in dams, and you're not eating beaver food. So if you're going to find a middle ground between the two, I think you have to have sort of equal sides of both. At the moment, there's very little beaver going on. Obviously, we're going to have the gears and the cogs when we get onto the water wheel, which is the power. And that's cool. And I really like this sort of the shaft-based mechanism in the gears. Like, I've not seen that in a game before. I've not seen a city builder where you actually have like water-powered stuff where it's actually wood force. I've seen stuff where, you use pumps to generate electricity, but I like that. It's clever. You could imagine beavers actually doing that if they became sentient. But yeah, how far can they should maybe lean into that more? What else can they do? Things like dams. Beavers build dams, so why not have that as part of their development? I absolutely agree with that. So how are we doing on housing here? So we've got enough housing. We still need a little bit more housing, but we're going to need more wood. So we are probably going to be a little bit slow at the start of the game because we are only going to have a smaller cohort of beavers. But as we grow, obviously, we can develop faster and faster. We're going to need to get some science on the go as well, because a lot of these things are sort of hidden behind science. So a forester obviously can start replanting stuff. There's nothing there that sort of leaps out that's different from previous city builders. There's nothing groundbreaking just yet. It has a cute, unique selling point, and I like it. I like the beaver thing. That's cute. I certainly don't have any complaints about the game yet whatsoever. I would buy this game. I don't know what price I would buy this game for, and it's probably something that devs don't necessarily want discussion on because they probably haven't actually decided where they're going to put the pricing for it yet. But I think as I play more, I'll try and get an idea of the amount of money that I would sort of be happy to pay for it, the amount of money that I would be okay with paying for it, and at what price I would be annoyed. And I think every game has that. RimWorld, for example, I bought RimWorld for, I don't know, 20 quid years ago when it came out. And at the time, I honestly thought I'd robbed a bank. Like, that game has got so much value for money, it's scary. And I would have happily paid £60 for it, which is horrible for me because I don't pay for games very much. Well, I don't pay that much money for games very much. But RimWorld is one of those games, the same as Minecraft. Like, The reason why everyone's playing Minecraft so much, the reason why it's been going so long, the reason why it's so huge, is because it just has absolutely bags and bags of potential. So it would be interesting to see how far and how in-depth the game is, what replayability it has. I will stop wittering at some point, but I want to get these thoughts out because I think these are the sorts of things that really, like, you know, may not be very sensible on the surface, but maybe if the devs do end up watching these videos, maybe it's something they can pick up on. I don't know. Now, my food is out, and I don't know if they're going to start... Oh, yeah, they're going to start starving. So, can we just Is there a harvest button? Cut down trees and half plants. Is there a way of harvesting these? So far, I don't think there's a harvesting button, but we can get a carrot field built, so we can start getting a reliable source of food. I like how the pathing shows up when you're placing your buildings so that you can make sure that everything's nice and lined up. That's just it's a small touch, but it's a nice one. Hopefully I haven't left the food production too late because this could end up being, again, a beaver massacre. I'm going to increase the working hours per day for now because I don't know if that's going to affect their morale. I need to wait until one of them comes out, I suppose, to find out what impact it has on them. A harvest button would be handy, I think, because although cutting down resources is something, there's nothing that distinguishes cutting down resources with harvesting. One of the things that RimWorld does very well is that set not necessarily work zones, but you can prioritize some work tasks over others. Maybe there is something in here already that you can do that with. I don't think there is, but having an ability to sort of prioritize certain tasks over other means that they're not going to be dying of hunger and thirst like this guy is before you actually get stuff built. Now, again, the building upwards thing, it's an interesting point because have they put it in because no one else is doing it? If so, fine, great. What's the point of it? There is a point about having them in a more condensed space, so you don't have to be as far away from things. You don't have to keep on expanding outwards. You can expand upwards, and that's fine. But I suppose it invites the question: well, why not just make a bigger map and expand outwards? I like it because it's interesting, and I haven't seen it in many games. But I sort of do want there to be a point about it. You know, could you have like a rope that's hanging down from the side of the top tier so they can get down really quickly, or like a tree that grows up the side of it so they can get down quickly? Is there a benefit to going up, basically? Your beavers are happy than ever. You've reached a new level. Okay. So they can't be dying too hard. Let's have a look at the storehouse. So we've got some berries from the harvesting here. Now I think these don't regrow, but if we get ourselves a timber wood thing, then everything should be good there. So we need a water wheel for some electricity for power. And we're going to need a carpenter to get logs, and then that's going to open some of the next development. There isn't a very clear direction, I will say, and again, I don't know if this is just because it's in beta and they haven't necessarily got all of the pop-ups and tooltips and all of that sort of stuff set up. I don't necessarily normally need a lot of hints and tips when I'm playing a game, and sometimes it can be a bit too much, but when you first start out, there's nothing that sort of says your beavers are dying. There's nothing that says you should probably get some food and some home set up. Okay, so 65 carrots after 4 days. Hunger and nutrition 1. So I like the idea that they've got the different tiers of nutrition as well, so you have to actually satisfy more than one simple food thing, because again, I will keep inviting comparisons to other games, but things like RimWorld, they just have one food stuff and you can basically just have your people and potatoes for the rest of their life and they don't care. I don't know if this is like a village elder or something? Do we have a list of our... I don't think so. That would be really handy to actually have a list of our... So there is a goals thing here as well. Okay, that's just the progress. If we had a list of our beavers, that would be really handy to actually see how old they all are, to get an idea of who's the oldest. And I think there was discussion as well of perhaps being able to name the beavers for streamers. We do have to stress that this is a beta, so there are a lot of things in here that will change. Now, they're not auto-collecting wood, which I actually quite like, so let's cut down some more trees so we can get that farm built. Now, I don't know if we're going to get into stone or if we're going to get into any mining or anything like that. I mean, obviously we've got these tiered walls. I think the fact that they are relying heavily on wood is good because obviously beavers, lean into it. How's this research going? So we've got 15 science. Now, what can we actually unlock? And what do we need to unlock? Because again, at the moment at least, I don't have any goals other than expansion. But as long as I've got food and as long as I've got water and they can sleep, I don't need to worry about any of these things yet. So I suppose I wonder when these things start to actually unlock. I'm guessing it's on the happiness level, the well-being level. But again, that's our only goals at the moment. So 1 beaver has no job. Now I can't put any more of those, so I could build another sort of worky house a little bit further away and start to expand a little bit. I might try and push the science a little bit as well and push that food production. It'll be interesting. I mean, obviously this farm's pretty huge compared to what's going on around it, so it'll be interesting to see how that actually works in terms of, is this, you know, these are going to take up a lot of space. Maybe that's why we need to go upwards, because actually a lot of this won't be buildable because these take up a lot of space and there's not actually a lot of places where this stuff can fit. It'll be interesting to see what challenges come, I suppose, because at the moment, obviously, getting food, getting water, that hasn't really been a challenge. So it'll be interesting to see what challenges present themselves. Now, we talked earlier about, you know, whether there could be predators or something you need to defend yourself from. I think I did hear about fires as a potential risk. So that would be interesting. Now we need to, so a grill will satisfy hunger and nutrition too. Now, if I don't build that, am I ever going to need to satisfy it? Probably, possibly. I like the fact, one of the things I really, really do like, and I don't know if it's just comfort, but one of the things I really like so far about these needs is that once you fulfill them, you can then get buffs from them. So that's really nice. I really like that, because a lot of the times with games like Banished, Sims, you're sort of fulfilling these bars for the sake of fulfilling them, and actually then they become a chore because you're not getting any benefit from filling them, you're just not losing by not filling them. So actually having something like this where we can get a buff, like if I get this up, I'm going to have them living longer, probably going to procreate more, probably going to get more citizens, but also they're going to walk faster. So things are going to be easier the more I actually put time into them. Now, we're still good on housing. By the way, if you guys are new to this channel, please do hit that follow. And if you do want to check out stuff that isn't this game, check out my YouTube channel to have a look at things like my Minecraft gameplays, which are probably a lot more interesting than this because I actually know what I'm doing. So I don't look quite as pathetic. Now, I'm going to try and get a water wheel in here and push for the power. And what do I need for that? 50 logs. We have no logs. So let's get some trees cut down. Let's get some real deforestation going. It's a clean game. I mean, this is the first time I've ever really got involved in beta testing of a game. But it is really clean. It's really, like I said, it's running on ultra settings. It's running nicely. It's pretty. So far, my first impressions of this, considering it's not actually even in full release yet, is it's really good. Really good. In terms of aesthetics, I don't know how deep the gameplay goes yet, and that is something that I am not worried about because it's not my job to worry about it, but it'll be interesting to see how it develops, or how we develop as a sort of society here with beavers. I think I've got to be careful to make sure, because they chop down the trees surprisingly quick, I've got to make sure that we're actually just not waiting for things to happen when actually you can really get involved in cutting down things and actually get building quicker. Okay, so it auto-assigns people to jobs, which is useful. We've got a very old one. I don't know if there's the ages associated whether they can breed or not. And I don't know what the average life expectancy of a beaver is going to be in this game. Now, how can I push this well-being up further? Let's really try and make an effort of that. You know, is there a cap to well-being? Is the 4 just that I'm hitting 4 of their goals? I don't necessarily want spoon-feeding, but I do feel that there are times where I'm a little bit confused about the sort of what are criteria to get to level 5. You know, I can see this, and that's fine, but if I start building something that's going to add to what they need fulfilling, then why would I do that until I'm so OP at that point that I don't need to work on these anymore? You know, do I just need a boatload of food and water, and then this will go up? How high can this go without me unlocking more stuff? Because if I have to unlock stuff to develop, if I have to place stuff down to force myself to have more goals, then that's me driving the game forward as opposed to the game pulling me forward as I naturally develop. So I'm not sure how I feel, or even if that's sensible. I might actually think of a more intelligible way to actually say that as I go on. What kind of things can we build next? So we've got a log pile, we've got a warehouse now. We don't really need the warehouse, I don't think, because we've got log storage and we've got food storage. For labour, we don't need any more labour because we're still in quite a small area. Housing, I can't build anything other than a lodge for now. Food and water. Now I could build more types of food. Let's do that and see if that adds to their nutrition levels. This placement is terrible, I know. I apologise in advance. But how does that look? Okay, let's get through the night again. The music's nice. I don't know if the music's loud enough on the stream, but I do think the music is quite nice. This O would probably be better as a pause button. Now, I don't need planks for anything yet, but maybe things will unlock in the tech menu as I get planks. A water pump pumps water for beavers to drink, and I can get that with science points. That would be better than having them all go down to the river, probably. Now, the question is, does that take it to their house? Because that would be cool. Grill, a wheat field. Satisfies, okay, and bread. So I think bread's a strange thing for beavers to be wanting. Now, I'd be interested to see if we could upgrade these buildings somehow. Like, can I get my... Other than the individual in there, which... They don't have skills, so it's not like he's now my science beaver and his science skill is going to go up, and because of that he's going to be better at science. So if they're not going to add those in, it would be good to see if we could somehow upgrade the inventors' huts or upgrade each of the buildings, maybe, work in the power somehow. If we connected this up to the power network, could that somehow improve it, or could we have different tiers of upgrades for these buildings? So that's produced another one. So we're on 54 science points now. Now I think I'm going to ramp that up just so I can actually get things produced faster. So this satisfies social life. So the campfire satisfies social life. I don't have to worry about satisfying it, but if I do, then I get more fertility. Okay, so I get it now. So there is a benefit to unlocking these things, and the benefit is that you can better your sort of beaver society. But again, maybe that's just a bit too easy. Maybe letting somebody decide when they advance in the game is maybe a bit easy, as opposed to saying, right, well, actually they all have these needs, but when you get to a certain thing, once their food and once their hunger is sorted out, okay, well, maybe the next need they have is social life. So maybe when you get these two sorted out, maybe introduce more. But by opening this campfire, I can get more fertility, which means I can start upping the numbers again, because at the moment we don't have any children beavers, and that is sad. I'm going to put a forestry thing in here, actually, because... Or am I? So I need 60 science points to unlock the forester. So then we can have a renewable source of wood. Don't know how good that will be, but we'll certainly give it a go. Okay, so the fertility boon's good. What are these other boons? So fun will increase working speed. Nutrition, life expectancy, strength, and carrying speed. How much is that carry? So 1 log is 6 kilos. So does that mean that if we get their strength up, they can carry 2 logs per run? That would seem to make sense. Okay, knowledge, increase their working speed, spirituality, working speed, aesthetics is working speed, and then it's all about working speed and life expectancy. So they live longer and they work faster, but what's the point of living longer and working faster? I think it's a difficult question for a game like this to answer, because ultimately the answer is to survive, and that's fine, but I don't know. Things like cities, I suppose they don't really have an end game, cities. Cities is the end game, but the difference that cities has is cities has a progressive difficulty. You start off, everything seems so simple. You don't even have proper roads when you start off on cities. You start off and you place a couple of roads down, you get some more roads, and it's all very simple. It's all very easy. And that's got a really nice introductory learning curve, because you can't really do anything wrong. But as you get into cities, you get so much ramping up of that difficulty level, because as you get into it, you unlock crime, fires start taking place, you've got different types of schools and levels of universities. So although cities is similar to this, where it doesn't necessarily have an end goal, by the time you get to the end of a cities game and you've got an enormous cities world, actually it is really quite difficult to be managing everything at once, because it keeps you engaged. If you start off with a small area, a little town, it's fine, but 3 hours into a cities game, you're juggling homelessness in one area with setting up industry in another, and you've got zoning, so you can actually start taking care of all these different zones. It's a really quaint, quirky game. It is begging the question, what's next? And why am I building this town? And I do think Banished suffers from it just a little bit, because the thing that Banished does is it really kicks your ass when it comes to winter. So there's always a sort of challenge coming in Banished. Winter is, have we got food? Have we got firewood? Are we ready for the harsh winter? Now, at the moment, I haven't seen any seasons on this. That might come later. I mean, winter doesn't tend to bother beavers too much anyway, because they hide stuff underwater. When it freezes over, they've got a source of stuff underwater. But where is the difficulty coming? At the moment, nothing has been remotely challenging. I mean, the food thing at the very start, but no one died. Maybe that needs to be a little bit more punishing. But if you're going to make that more punishing, you need to make out straight away to people that you need to get food, you need to get water, you need to warn them. Okay, let's try and unlock some more stuff then. So, I can't recall what I actually wanted to unlock. Forester. Unlock Forester. And we'll have that here. Probably not the most efficient placement, but if we've got some forestry going on around here, I'm not going to complain. I mean, the map is enormous, like absolutely enormous, but at the moment there's no reason for me to explore the map. I don't need to go up to any of these areas. There's no resources over here. You know, if there was iron over here. But again, I don't want them to necessarily change it away from what it is, because I think the wood thing is very cool. I don't think they need to go and do what things like Minecraft and Cities and other games are doing. They don't have to bring in resources. But, you know, I sort of want a reason to get up here. I can make ladders, I can make scaffolding, so why would I not want to get up here? But at the moment, there's no reason to go up there. Maybe it would look cooler. I could make like a little society here with tiered buildings going up and down these cliffs. That would look cool. But at the moment, there's sort of no reason to. I mean, the monuments, it can't help but draw comparisons to Banished, and it can't help but draw comparisons to Cities, because it's sort of trying to be both, and that's not a problem because they do have their own thing. I think it meets what Banished does fine, but I don't think it meets the level that Cities is getting to yet, because maybe it could be a population thing. You know, your first target is 5 beavers. When you get to 5 beavers, you unlock social. And that's the way that Cities does it. It controls it by population. You know, once you reach 1,000 of this, then you have to start worrying about crime or education. Your beavers are happy whenever you've reached a score of 5. Okay, that's cool. Happy with that. Does that mean I've unlocked a new difficulty now? If so, maybe getting to level 5 has added an extra thing. Their housing's interesting as well, and something that I suppose is done in Prison Architect quite well is the tiering of the living accommodation. So, you know, you start off with a basic house. At the moment, it seems that there is only one type of house. You know, could there be a second type of house, a slightly better house that is, you know, a 4-person house or a tenement? So that when we start off, we can have a big place for everyone to live in, and actually, you know, they're unhappy with that because they've got a social statistic already. You know, maybe the social could also have a negative buff to it. If they're living together and they don't like living on top of each other, you know, we could have a negative buff where actually they move slower or they're less fertile because they hate each other. And then, you know, you could have better housing and upgrade your housing and have like fancier housing. So then you've got tiered society. And then what you're doing is you're bringing in components from things like Anno, where again, Anno does some of this stuff brilliantly. Anno is more of a supply links, you know, a supply chain game. But actually, the way it does the housing and stuff like that's brilliant, because you start off with these kind of houses, but as their needs are all met, as their needs are satisfied, that house will go up a level using some of your resources, and then those ones are more difficult because they already have these other types of beaver. They've got it on the well-being score, so they've already sort of got the essence of that. But if we could get the Anno style leveling where you hit the requirements of this and then this becomes an eager beaver house, then it's naturally introducing the challenge, because it's all of a sudden, crap, I've got to deal with these eager beavers now. They move faster, but they're hungrier. So then I've got to ramp up my food production. But at the moment, these sort of seem to be unlocking a bit randomly. Like, I've got a grill here, but I don't have any reason for it because I haven't got Nutrition 2. I don't know when I'm going to unlock Nutrition 2 because I don't have a clear goal set. I don't have anything that says, okay, when I get to this number, I'm now going to need nutrition. I'm guessing it's just as I get this well-being level up. So what I need to do is make sure we've got plenty of food so that the hunger's always satisfied, although we do have plenty of food at the moment and they're not necessarily eating it. And we do need to get more water because, yeah, at the moment they're not really using this, but I wonder if I have a pump that's closer to the centre of the town, if they will use it more. I'm going to speed this up just a touch and try and push the science up. At the moment, it's not really an evolution game, but if you did have that evolution component to it, whereby they did go up social classes, or, you know, because at the moment their requirements are getting more sophisticated as their well-being goes up. So you could absolutely have that in there as a sort of evolutionary thing. At the moment, they're not wearing clothes, but, you know, maybe as we unlock tailors, there's a requirement for clothing, because actually, you know, maybe there's something going on there where they evolve into animals that need that clothing. Yeah, they have the perfect setup, absolutely. They've already got the foundations for that. I think it all comes down to how much they want to change what's there. It would be interesting to know what they are going to change. I mean, one of the things that guy said in the stream I watched was about changing their names to Timberlings. Now, obviously, at the moment, they're pushing beavers, and that's absolutely fine if there's a reason to push beavers. Like, I love that idea. You know, the whole beaver thing, it's cool. But Timberlings is a really cute name for them. And it does sort of suggest that they have their own evolutionary thing. You know, they're not just beavers, they're these Timberlings, they're Timberborn. And watching that, having that development, that evolution, it would pull it apart from other games. Because at the moment, it is Banished with the beaver skin. It's cities-ish, but not quite cities. You know, this almost looks like the action bar from Cities, but it's missing a lot of what Cities does, but that's fine because it isn't Cities and it's not Banished. But they have got a really good opportunity to stuck into those sorts of things and maybe lean into that evolution thing. The pictures I've seen have clothes on them, so I imagine at some point there is tailors, but at the moment this seems to be everything that we can unlock, and that is because it's in the beta, I imagine. So gable roof satisfies aesthetics, so we can increase the houses by using gable roofs. We could make little areas with shrubs and benches to get the aesthetics going. We can unlock their... Now, I think the tiering of the science points has maybe got a bit of an issue going on with it, because some of these, I mean, 8,000 science points. I've been playing for 20 seconds short of an hour, and I have 81 science points, and I've only spent like 60. Maybe a bit more than that. This is like 10 hours of gameplay to unlock something that is all level 3. This sort of... I think maybe the science points either let us upgrade the science centres so that it can work better. This is already 98% productivity, and it's not all that fast. Either let us upgrade the science so we can make science faster, or knock those down because some of these are insane. I think it's very easy to sort of rubbish what they've done so far, but I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to say that what they've done is bad at all. I think it's excellent so far. But I think I think in a way the game has a little bit of an identity crisis because it is very similar to other games, and that's fine. And they've introduced some new stuff that those games aren't doing, like tiered building. But I think rather than just saying, what can we add that other people haven't done, maybe questioning what can we do on what we've already done, you know, by adding these features. What are we doing? What's the reason that we're adding these things, and what benefits do they bring? Why do people want to sit and grind out to get to this point? I think it is nice. I still haven't seen the boost in complexity that we've been talking about in chat there. And I can't see it happening because as things go on, the only thing that can really fail is the supply chains. The water wheel's interesting as well. I mean, I don't know if I'd necessarily want to go to the depths of Cities, but things like if there was a current on the river, if there were certain parts that would be better to make it on, that might be interesting. But I don't know. Things like... I don't know. Again, I think it is difficult to not try and compare this to other games because it's so similar to them, but Cities has the complexity of different types of power. It has things like the currents, and where you place your things is going to increase or decrease. And if they don't want to go to that level of complexity, that's fine. I love the gearing system, though. I think I have seen people making these power rods, which then use horsepower rather than electricity, and that is cute. I like that. I don't know how much stuff you can do. Like, obviously, the mill could be controlled by water power. I mean, also, I know it sounds stupid, but at the moment, the beavers can't go in the water. I mean, beavers spend the majority of their time in the water, or, you know, at least half of the time in the water. But yet, that's not a part of the game. And it sort of constantly comes back to, why beavers? Other than because they're cute, what is it about this game that stops me just literally reskinning these as humans? How would this game be any different at this point now if I didn't have beavers and if instead I had humans? And again, you know, maybe a lot of the things that we're talking about here are actually just things that they're going to change. Also, at the moment, we've got children, but we have nothing for the children. We have no leisure for entertaining just children. We don't have any... I mean, they have the same needs as the adults. It'll be interesting to see if they could do something where the children have either less needs, or maybe they have they have a fun need anyway, but fun doesn't seem to be required for the children yet. Maybe that's when I get my well-being up. But I can't see how to get my well-being up. I don't know where my well-being is lacking, and I think that needs some sort of overlay, some way of checking how I turn this 5 into a 6. Because at the moment, until I get something that lets me check how to turn that 5 into a 6, I have no motivation, I have no goal. I imagine it is just these. I like the adulthood bar, by the way. Big fan of that. So it's good to know when these things are going to age, but I'm excited for the team. I think there's a lot of potential that they've got in this game. if they release this tomorrow, obviously it doesn't have enough going. But as they've said, and as they really want me to stress, and as I will stress very, very strongly, this is very early beta. You know, they're only literally just opening the closed beta today. There's going to be a lot more going into this game. So if you are watching this and this is on my YouTube and, you know, it's even a week later, chances are they've probably made 1,000 changes. So the criticisms that I'm putting out here aren't for the sake of criticizing the game. They're for the sake of providing honest feedback to the devs. Yeah, really, really want to stress that. This is not a completed game. In fact, I might just copy myself saying this is not a completed game and just paste it through the video. Because, as I said, I'm not sitting here and saying this game's terrible because this game has not even been released. This game's being developed. Now, if they do nothing about the game and release it like this, that's a different story. But yeah, it's very early beta. And I'm very lucky. I want to thank the devs as well for actually letting me take part in this and getting me a key nice and early. Because, yeah, it gives me a chance to look at this game. I have been excited for this game for a little while. And I know that some people have been more excited than me and have been following it for a long time. So, yeah, thanks to the devs for actually releasing this and letting people get involved. I think it is a really, really good idea. Obviously, beta testing is not a new thing, but the way they're doing it, using Discord and sort of getting people involved, I think it's a really, really good move. Okay, so, water pump. This is red, because I don't have enough logs or planks yet, obviously. So you're producing planks. How fast? Again, it's quite slow on the production front, and it doesn't seem that there's any way that I can increase that speed. I mean, whoever does the animation and the graphics definitely needs a pay rise, because this sort of stuff is... I don't know much about the devs actually, and I don't know if they're a massive studio or whatever, but actually, this is very, very pretty. Really nice animation, really nice, clean look and feel to the game. Really good aesthetics overall, actually. So well done to the artists and stuff that have done this. It's really, really nice looking. See, at the moment, the production seems a little bit... Yeah, it's too slow, basically. Let's just put it that way. Like, at the moment, obviously, I can feed this with planks, and I'm going to get 1 log each plank. That's fine. But for some reason, he's only taking 1 log once each plank has been taken out, and that is very, very slow. It is very slow. I've also only got 2 workers who are actually doing that hauling. 1 worker. Okay, so we've got no jobless ones. Maybe if I knock these down to 1 worker on each field, will that heavily influence the productivity of these fields? Okay, so we've got our level up on the satisfaction. Are these already unlocked? Is it just that I haven't actually filled any of them? No one seems to be using the campfire, though. Oh, hang on. I'm stupid. I'm very, very stupid. I've had them working 20 hours a day, so by the time they finish work, they don't have time to socialise. I bet their well-being is going to shoot up now because they're going to start using the socialising more. I still don't have a way of measuring that, of course. Like, they have individual levels of well-being, and we have an average well-being based on them. So we can always work out how to get that higher by increasing the average by finding the smallest ones. Like, this guy is thirsty, but isn't drinking and has no social life and no fun. But by the looks of it, we can now actually get some... We can just push this stuff onto them. I don't know who my most well-being satisfied people are because we don't actually have a way of looking at a list of everybody. But we can look at the houses. So 7s, 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 7s. So all of these guys are actually at 7 already. So they have nutrition. Okay. Okay, yeah. That does need to be teased out a little bit, I think, because this looks like they're not unlocked, but actually it's just that they're not being met at all. So actually, by the looks of it, I can do all of this stuff straight off the bat. And actually, if I do, the well-being is going to shoot up. That's fine. Okay, so now I know that we actually need to push for these other things as well. And they are now socializing because I haven't got them working 20 hours a day. We still don't have that difficulty, but that does make it a lot better because there is a lot more to manage. Because you can actually, literally straight off the bat, you can set the speed that you develop in the game. Because you can decide to only work on some of their stuff, or you can work on all of them. That's definitely something that would need to be teased out, I think, though, because that took me well over an hour to work out the fact that I could decide to work on these whenever I wanted to. So they have fun. So can we get leisure for fun? Spirituality, knowledge, fun. So the carousel is the only way... Is it the only way I can get fun? I think it might be. So if that's the only way I can get fun, that's going to be the last thing that I actually do. Which, in that case, I mean, I prefer to see it down here so I can actually work down them. Oh, we finally have our forester ready. And we've got one worker who is planting pine. Now, I wonder if the colour of the wood is going to impact the logs that we get, or what the benefit of each one of these three is. Interesting. It's very interesting. Now, obviously, this is producing planks still. We're still only doing one at a time. So, let's see if we can't promote some of these to better well-being. So their well-being has shot up in general, I think, and that's probably because I cut the amount of hours per day. I wonder if they can't eat when they're working unless they're about to die. So his is nutrition 2, but once that goes up, that'll be 6. 3, 6. So I wonder if this number actually just refers to how many things you're... Yeah, okay. So this well-being number is just how many of these things you're actually satisfying on some level. If this was fun, this would be 8. If this was knowledge, it would be 9. There's still no reason to get that number up, though, which is ultimately the issue. There's no reason for me to get that well-being number away from 1, unless I want to make a challenge for myself to get their well-being to level 13 or whatever. But unless these unlocks are tied to that well-being level, there is no reason for me to push these. I think there could be goals in here above these. Obviously, these are the goals for the well-being, for the average well-being. But I think if there was some sort of reward or some sort of leveling system based on their well-being, you know, so have X amount of beavers at an average well-being of 5 for 2 days or something like that. You know, maintain an average well-being of 10 and you get a certain unlock, or you unlock a certain type of building or certain type of resources. Maybe your upgrades could be associated with that. You know, so maybe my inventors, my researchers could be researching faster if they have better well-being. That seems to make sense, but it doesn't seem to necessarily be the case. Also, have we had any die yet? I don't think so. We've got a 34-day-old. I don't know if there's a predefined death age for beavers. We've got 3 children now, though, so they're fertility 1. So letting them have the social life and less working hours should help with the fertility. What was that? Okay, so we're up to average level 7 now. So we should get the eager beavers on the next level. Now, I believe they're a lot harder to feed. So knowledge is working speed, working speed, work. So by the looks of it, these 3 are the things that are going to push your science production. So these all do working speed. And as does ore. No, that's walking speed. Or 1. So these all do working speed. So then your science is going to skyrocket because they'll be working 95% faster. 50, 60, 85% faster, sorry. And also, if you get the fun up as well, then we're going to be at, 100% faster. So we'll work twice as fast if we hit all of those extra aims. I can't speak. So we could get their aesthetics up using the shrubs and using benches, or we could put roofs on the houses. So that's a 1-tile radius. That's a 3-tile radius. So just spamming shrubs looks like it would be a very good idea. What do we need for it? Okay, so we haven't got any jobless beavers yet, but because it can only have 8 beavers, it will expire. Let's put that there and path to it. And then we can start chopping down the trees around here. Now we need to get that water pump sorted as well, but the planks are taking an absolute lifetime. I think this is broken in that I can't stack logs in here, or there doesn't need to be a 13 here. Now, here's a question. Will they chop these logs and take them all the way back to the resource pile before collecting them and carrying them all the way back here? Because that hurts. It hurts when I see that. I feel like if there's a work zone nearby, they should just be taking it straight to a work zone. But I see that in every game. That's not just a problem with this game at all. It's not even a problem with this game. But it is an issue with other games. Now, will they take it to the nearest storage pile is the next question. Now, I've stupidly made all of these shrubberies, and I think they may do it in build order. So it may be that they start building things in the order that I placed them. Which, if they do, might be a little bit of a problem. Thankfully, we've still got the wood in here. Otherwise, we'd have to wait for this thing to actually grow trees. This needs to grow significantly faster. I've been playing a lot of the recent time on ×3, and this needs to produce trees quicker than deforesting, because at the moment I have no need for this, because I may as well just build labour houses and just or work extenders and just go and deforest areas. At least it can grow them back, I suppose. If I deforest areas, they can't grow back, but that can. But I do feel this needs to be a bit faster. So Nuclear, out of seems like you're the only one talking in chat. What sort of things do you think, having watched a bit of this, do you think need to change? If anything, you might completely disagree with me. Okay, so we've got level 8 well-being now. And that'll be because we've got 1 aesthetic. Now, that actually would have been so much cleverer to do early, because that's 10% working speed for everyone now. For literally 1 shrubbery. Now we have the eager beavers. Now, the eager beavers, I believe... Now, here's a question. Will the eager beavers just naturally start spawning? Will they start getting born? Or will I have to somehow unlock them or import them somehow? A very good point that's just been made there is that actually, at the moment, there is no direction to focus on. And actually, there's very little motivation to get there beyond wanting to push this yourself. Why would you want to sort of push this? Why? There's no difference between now and when I started with 2 houses, other than the numbers are higher. And that's not really enough motivation. I don't know where the other beavers are going to come into this. I mean, obviously we've unlocked them. Eager beavers. They walk faster, but they eat more. So it's not a good thing to necessarily unlock them. I could easily go without them because although they walk faster or work 10% faster or whatever it is they do, all I'm going to do by introducing them is provide a challenge that is unnecessary. Other than, again, as Nuclear's just put in the comments there, my own motivation to want to make it more difficult. But I shouldn't have to make a game more difficult. It should scale with me. It should get more difficult as I'm playing. To keep up with the fact that I'm also developing and I've got more resources. At the moment, there's some stuff that's stuck at the start of the game. This production is just... It's too slow. Well, at the moment, it's not producing because I haven't got any resources. But at the moment, it is just a bit too slow. It's pretty, it's nice. They've got such a good foundation, but I really, really, really hope they take on board what people have been saying and actually... Not necessarily me, but, just I hope they take on board the comments that are going to come back from the beta and add something that makes it, that gives you a reason to progress in the game. For cities, the reason is because you don't unlock half of the stuff until as you progress, you unlock things that you can't avoid. When I got to Wellbeing 7, nothing happened. But if I got to Wellbeing 7 and all of a sudden my beavers start stealing from each other and I have to then build a police station to sort of navigate that difficulty, then there's an added difficulty that I have to manage. But in unlocking that, I've also unlocked a way of counteracting the problem. That's just the city's aspect of it. But if I want to make that, against other games, the difficulty could be that when I got to average wellbeing 7, actually, something bad moved into the area, and I have to start looking at ways that I can defend myself, whether that be with walls. God, beavers build dams. They're wall builders. They build them in water, but, could we somehow have some sort of trenching beavers that dig out an area and then we, build off an area? We've got different types of beavers. We could have, not necessarily warrior beavers because it's a survival builder. It's not necessarily an RTS, but we're a thriving community now. Are there other beavers that wouldn't necessarily like the fact that we have lots of food and lots of resources that come and attack us? I feel like having... I don't think combat would ruin the game by any means. And I think being a thriving society would invite challenges like being attacked. And that comes back to what we were talking about earlier with that evolution. Do we want them to be... they're already bipedal, they're already running about. Why not wear clothes? Why not have competing factions? This map is huge. Like I said before, there's no reason for me to go and explore these areas. But if there was a slowly growing combatant group over here, maybe I would move away a bit. Or, if there was a big an mass fighting here, maybe I could scare them off. It doesn't have to be violence. The game doesn't have to have war. But I could out-resource compete them and have them sort of move away. With everything being made of wood, plumbing and irrigation should be essential to fight fires, yeah. And that comes back to the seasons. We don't have any seasons in the game, so there's no challenge. The seasons itself would be such an easy thing to add that would add challenge. In the winter, you've got the cold, you've got the fact that you can't grow anything. But maybe in summer, the flip side of that could be you have forest fires. Maybe all of this could be, maybe this could set on fire over here and spread. And then I've got to say, well, hang on a minute, my entire bloody base is built of wood. Let's be a bit more careful with what's going to happen here and have something to do with the irrigation. I mean, yeah, they are beavers. So, what can we do that can do something about that? We have a river that has absolutely no purpose at the moment other than drinking from and producing power when they're beavers. It seems crazy to me that I wouldn't be able to build a dam as a beaver. It comes back to that. They're beavers. What makes them different to humans? Why can't we replace these beavers with humans? What would be any different in this game if we replace these beavers with humans? At the moment, nothing. I think they need to get more into the beaver thing. If you're going to do beavers, go hard on beavers. When I was looking up this game, when I went to have a look at what beavers eat, because I was very confused when I saw carrots. When I went to have a look at what beavers eat, one of the first things that it actually said about beavers was that they promote forest health. Like, the way that they eat trees, the way that they chew on the bark at the bottom of trees, actually promotes trees growing, and it leads to forests growing faster than they normally do. So yeah, why not lean into that? Why not have something in there about, have something a little bit educational in there, but not too educational? If they're halfway between beavers and humans, which is sort of what they are, because they're living in human dwellings, but they are beavers, why not have that pollution, for example, as you've said? Why not have trash, floating down the river that's, maybe that's a problem. Maybe there's beavers that live downriver that aren't very happy with you polluting them, that come and attack you. In a way, that's a bit like Factorio. The more pollution you produce in Factorio, the more you get attacked by others. You could easily lean into that, and you could have those same issues. I mean, that they can't swim is a bit weird as well. It's a weird thing that you can't, that they have no reason to go in the river and they have no reason to swim. I mean, building a dam would at least get them in the river swimming. So we've got children growing up, construction lacks material, building lacks materials. But our shrubberies are all built, so now the rest of the trees that are getting cut down should help build this woodcutting lodge. Now, I'm sort of hoping that it does, because I've noticed that I have deforested basically all of the area around my base. It annoys me that I can't clear these stumps out. I don't think there's a need for those stumps. I can't get rid of those. So I can only build over those, which don't think these grow back. Mature pine stump, no. So these aren't going to grow back by the looks of it. So there's no reason to have them. And again, I don't want to be too critical to the developers, because they have done a really good job at the start. But I do think they need to sort out those issues. They need to sort out their identity, and they need to sort out, why they've made the game and where they want the person to be. I suppose if you were designing a perfect game, you could go to any level of complexity, but they just need some more stuff in there that beavers do. I'd love to know on the transcript of this stream how many times I've said beavers. Again, we keep getting to these choke points where obviously I don't have enough beavers to grow, but then I don't want to keep beating a dead horse, but there's no reason for us to grow. If there was one comment that I could, because I'm gonna end the stream soon, probably in the next 10-15 minutes. If there's one thing that I could pull up as a comment, if there's one way that I could condense all of the stuff that I've been talking about for the devs and just say this is my sort of honest opinion as someone who matters very little on the internet, my one thing would be, why beavers and why not humans? And that's not because I want to see a game about humans. I love the beaver thing, absolutely love it. But my question is, why have you decided to use beavers, and what would stop me from remaking this game without beavers and with humans? Because at the moment I can't see anything that is exclusive to beavers other than the fact they're drinking from a river, which, let's face it, humans would. At this early level of society, humans would. So why beavers, and what is the end game? What is the point of me building this civilization up, and how can you make that more difficult? But I think ultimately why beavers, because that brings in a lot of other questions. If you're going for a sort of half human, half beaver hybrid, somewhere in the middle, if it's an evolution chain, have an evolution chain. If you're going for something that is just beavers, but you don't want necessarily that link to human, why have carrots? Why have potatoes? Why not get rid of these and actually have the things that beavers eat? If you're going to have a game about beavers, why not make the river bigger and actually have more of the focus on the river? We don't need to have this Minecraft banished land when, if beavers, if most of a beaver society is in water, why not just make this river 3 times the size and have dwellings in the river? Why not have like dens that are on the riverside that they live in, instead of having a house? If you want to anthropomorphize and have houses, fine, but have a reason to have a house, have a reason to have them on the ground. And the only reason that could be would be the evolutionary chain thing. And if that's the case, then they need to be moving up through society, they need to be having a reason to have jobs, professions, tailoring, clothes. They need to start becoming more like humans, and then the end game is essentially bringing them into this anthropomorphized bipedal creature that has developed from being an early stage beaver into something that is essentially a beaver human, beaver man. But if you don't want to do that, and that's fine, then make the game more about being a beaver. And if you're not going to make the game about being a beaver, then ultimately, what's the point of having beavers? I like the wood thing. That's great. I like the beavers. I think they're great. I think everything about them is perfect. But the only thing that concerns me is the way that they interact with the game world and the construction around their game world. We're collecting trees, but we have no dams. Beavers' dams. We have potatoes, carrots, and all these human things growing, but beavers don't eat them anyway, so why would beavers in a game? Why beavers, ultimately, is the question. Why do I want to develop my village? What challenges could I face that I'm currently not facing? Because at the moment, I've been playing for 2 hours and it's relaxing and it's chill and that's fine. But there's no challenge. And I think, ultimately, although I might play this for 4, 5, 6 hours because it's charming, it's cute, what's going to bring me back to the game? Because although it's pretty, although it's nice, although I might want to expand, I might want to get this number to 1,000 or 10,000 or 50,000 or 100, but I want to get, if I get that beaver number up, what makes me want to come back and keep working on those beavers? Because if it's about meeting needs, then I could play The Sims. And if your game is about meeting the needs of a beaver, then get rid of all of the rest of this stuff and just have beaver sims. I can't put my finger on what the game is about. And sadly, I think that's why it pulls the Beaver Banished title in. It pulls in a comparison to Banished because it is like Banished, but I think Banished sort of actually has the same sort of identity crisis because Banished is also a survival game, but the difference with Banished is it's difficult to survive. I've never played Banished this long without dying. Because when winter comes around, people get selfish, people steal the food and they hoard it in their houses. You've got a distribution problem. You've got markets that solve that problem by getting people to distribute food out evenly. Winter is hard. You can't grow through winter. You can't grow anything in winter, and it's hard to survive winter. So the survival element of that game never leaves. In this, I don't think the survival element really ever comes into it. I've set 3 farms up at the start. My food has been consistent. Berries, yes, admittedly, because I've been deforesting, but I've had to deforest, so naturally I'm going to have more berries. There's no way of harvesting, so the only way I get these berries is by deforesting. So I can't not harvest them. So my food, I can't not naturally have infinite food just by playing the game. So food isn't a challenge at the moment. And yes, I could build 100 farms and have 100 people farming food, but there's not a challenge at the moment. And I think that's where the game's struggling. For me, anyway. Again, all my opinion. And again, for anyone watching this on YouTube or whatever, it is very early beta and things are very likely to change a lot. But for me, I think there needs to be something that provides somewhat of a challenge, whether that's seasons that mean that survival is hard, whether that's failing crops that means I have to start worrying about food, or I have to start cultivating the land or doing something more on the farming component of it. Whether it's demands like in Anno where certain levels of citizens want certain demands for things, and you've already got the foundations for that by having different types of beaver. But I don't even know how to unlock these beavers. I mean, I've unlocked it apparently, but where are they? I mean, I can't see that because I don't have a list of beavers, but do I have any? Do they get born? Could there be family trees for the beavers? What is it that I'm interested in doing? Because if it's breeding beavers to be better, then I can do that with a family tree. If it's making them survive, then I need seasons. If it's about them being beavers, which again is cool, it's quirky, it's interesting, then we need it to be about beavers. You need to be having them living in a river. They need to be making dams. They need to be eating the things that beavers eat. And maybe that's how they start off, and then maybe they move on to land, and you can have that evolutionary thing. And I think there is definitely a place for a game like that, which sort of touches on almost Spore. If we think back to Spore, that game was enormously successful, but it's the evolutionary aspect of it. You start off as nothing and you build your way up and you build your way up and you develop and you develop and you develop. You know, you could have factions of beavers so easily. I don't know how easy it is for developers, and they're probably having a heart attack listening to this, but to me, I think the river at the moment, in a game about beavers, I would expect the river to be the focal point. At the moment, there's nothing about it, and by looking through the build menus, there's no reason for there to be a river here. I could have a water pump, and I could have a solar powered generator, and then they could be humans. There's nothing in this game that makes me that means that beavers are important, or even there's nothing to stop you from reskinning these into humans and calling it Minecraft Banished because of the the design. That's not meant to be overly critical, but I think it is meant to make people question what they actually want to see in a game. I'm also interested to know what this water pump is meant to be for, because if this water pump is only to pull water when you're away from the river, like let's say up here and you need a water source, then I'm never going to be up here. I'm never going to be up here because there's no reason to be up here. The only possible reason could be deforestation. If I chop down all of my trees, I might go inland to get more trees, but why would I move inland? Because other than just having a bigger and bigger and bigger society, there's no reason for me to go inland. And beavers, as beavers, wouldn't, because they'd be near the river. Unless there's some sort of evolutionary thing. I don't know. Perhaps too critical, but I'm probably going to pull this to an end now. But I am going to end the stream there. But thank you for watching, and hopefully see you in some of the other videos. Also, if this is on the YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe before you leave.